Samuel Eto'o, four-time African Player of the Year, Champions League winner, Barcelona legend, one of the greatest strikers in football history. He flew to one of the poorest countries on earth, stood in front of cameras, and said 5 words that shook the continent. He is Africa's pride. He was talking about a 37-year-old military captain, a man with no mansion, no private jet, no Swiss bank account, a man who earns a captain's salary while running an entire nation, a man who survived 5 assassination attempts and still shows up every single day, a man who just scored a hat trick against Etoo, Okocha and Adebayor. Yes, you heard that right. The president of Burkina Faso scored 3 goals against the greatest footballers Africa has ever produced. And I have the footage to prove it. But before I show you what happened, I need you to do something right now. Smash that like button. I am serious. If you want to see more content like this, content that the mainstream media will never show you, hit that like button and drop a comment. Can your president play football? I want to see your country in the comments. Be honest. Could your leader even run 20 meters without collapsing? Drop it now. I will wait. Okay, let's get into it. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, you just found the only place on YouTube that tells the truth about Africa. No Western propaganda, no lies, just facts. Subscribe, hit the bell. You do not want to miss what comes next. March 26th, 2025. Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. A football pitch. Thousands watching. Cameras rolling. On one side, Okocha, Emmanuel Adebayor, Stefan Mbia, Mamadou Niang. Legends. Combined transfer value in their prime, over $200 million. Combined caps for their national teams, over 400. These men played for Arsenal, Manchester City, PSG, Real Madrid. They faced Messi, Ronaldo, Zidane. On the other side, Ibrahim Traore, wearing the number 10 jersey, the playmaker's number, Pelé's number, Maradona's number. No professional career, no European academy, no million-dollar contracts. Just a captain who became a president, a soldier who became a symbol, a man who chose to serve instead of steal. The whistle blows, 22 minutes. Traoré steps up to a free kick. The wall is set. The goalkeeper ready. He curls it. Top corner, unstoppable, 1-0. The legends laugh. Lucky shot, they think. 47 minutes. Traoré picks up the ball 25 meters from goal. No one closes him down. Mistake. He shoots. The ball screams toward the net. The goalkeeper dives. Too late. 2-0. The laughter stops. The legends look at each other. Who is this guy? Third goal. A scramble in the box. The ball falls to Traoré. He does not miss. Final score? 8-2. The president's team destroys the African legends. Let me say that again. A sitting president who spends his days fighting terrorists, rebuilding infrastructure, and resisting Western imperialism just outscored professional footballers who earned hundreds of millions of dollars. This is not a movie. This is not fiction. This is Ibrahim Traoré. So here's what you need to understand. What happened in March 2025 was not just a friendly match. It was not just entertainment. It was a revelation. Here is a man who wakes up every day knowing someone wants to kill him. 5 coup attempts, 5 assassination plots. 5 times they tried to remove him. 5 times he survived. And what does he do with his rare free time? He plays football with legends and beats them. This is not normal. This is extraordinary. Most presidents hide behind security. Traore steps onto a pitch and competes. Most leaders would never risk the embarrassment of losing. Traoré risks it because he is not afraid of anything. And when legends like Okocha and Adebayor fly to a country under sanctions, under Western pressure, under constant media attacks, they are not just playing football. They are choosing a side. They are saying, "We see this man. We respect this man. We believe in this man." And the world noticed. But March was just a warm-up. August 4th, 2025. The same city, but this time the stakes are higher. The Stade du Fort Haut, Burkina Faso's national stadium, built in 1984 by Thomas Sankara himself, the revolutionary, the icon, the man they called Africa's Che Guevara. For decades, this stadium was the heart of Burkinabe football, the place where the Stallions charged, where the nation roared. Then in 2021, the Confederation of African Football banned it. Why? Infrastructure deterioration. The stadium was falling apart. Burkina Faso could not host international matches anymore. The national team became exiles, playing home games in Morocco, in Mali, anywhere but home. For 4 years, the Stallions had no home. Then Traoré said, "Enough. This is what makes him different." Other leaders would have accepted the situation, blamed the previous government, made excuses. Not Traoré. He saw a problem, he fixed it. Simple. Renovation began, not with foreign contractors charging triple, with Burkinabe workers, local materials, national pride, new turf, new seating, new locker rooms, digital scoreboards, VIP lounges, a press box for 80 journalists, modern facilities that rival anything in Europe. And here is the incredible part. He did it during a war, while fighting terrorists in the north, while resisting French pressure, while surviving assassination attempts. Traoré still found time to rebuild a stadium. That is leadership. That is vision. That is Ibrahim Traoré. And on July 1st, 2025, CAF sent an email. Official approval. The stadium was certified again. 4 years of exile. Over. Thanks to one man's determination. But Traoré did not just want to reopen a stadium. He wanted to make a statement the whole continent would remember. So he made some phone calls. Samuel Eto'o, 4-time African Player of the Year, Barcelona legend, Champions League winner, one of the greatest strikers in football history. He said yes. Emmanuel Adebayor, African Player of the Year 2008, Arsenal, Manchester City, Real Madrid, Togo's greatest ever player. He said yes. JJ Okocha, the man so good they named him twice. PSG legend, Nigeria's magician, one of the most skillful dribblers the world has ever seen. He said yes. Hadj Diouf, the man who scored the winning goal against France in the 2002 World Cup. Senegal's hero. He said yes. Rigobert Song, 137 caps for Cameroon, the most capped African player in World Cup history. He said yes. Seydou Keita, Barcelona, Roma, Mali's captain. Tay Taiwo, Alex Song, Stefan Mbia, Mamadou Niam. Yes, 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 yes. Think about what just happened. The biggest names in African football history all flew to Ouagadougou. Not for money, not for a commercial, not for FIFA. For a 37-year-old military leader who the West calls a dictator. Why? Let me show you. August 4th, 2025. The stadium is packed. 26,000 fans. Parachute jumps, traditional dances, a giant mosaic of the Burkina Faso flag made by the crowd. The ceremony marks the 42nd anniversary of the 1983 revolution, the revolution that brought Sankara to power. The symbolism is not subtle, and the legends know exactly what they are participating in. Before the match, Traoré hosts them at the presidential palace. Photos are taken, handshakes exchanged. Then Samuel Eto'o speaks, and this is where it gets powerful. Eto'o looks at the cameras and says, "Thank you for welcoming us to our home, your home. Our home, your home. Not your country, not Burkina Faso. Our home." Then he says, "The president is a pride for Africa." Let that sink in. Samuel Eto'o, president of the Cameroon Football Federation, 4-time African Player of the Year, one of the most respected voices in African football, calls Ibrahim Traoré a pride for Africa. Not an interesting leader, not a controversial figure, a pride for Africa. He continues, "The development we are seeing on our continent, which is happening before our eyes, is simply incredible." Development, happening before our eyes, incredible. These are not empty words. Eto'o does not need to say this. He is rich. He is powerful. He gains nothing by praising Traoré, but he does it anyway, because he sees something. Hadj Diouf speaks next. Remember, this is the man who scored against France in the World Cup, the man who made France lose to an African team on the world stage. He says, "It is Africa that wins. Today we are in a united Africa. We need to be together, join hands, and work for Africa to move forward. Africa wins. United Africa. Work together." Then he adds something unexpected. "I would like to see Burkina Faso win an African Cup." This is a Senegalese legend. Senegal just won the Africa Cup of Nations in 2022. He could support his own country. Instead, he is wishing success for Burkina Faso. Why? Because this is not about football anymore. This is about something bigger. Emmanuel Adebayor speaks. The Togolese legend says, "What an honor to have been present at 2 unforgettable events alongside the president of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and all the respected leaders and authorities." Then the key line. "Together we share a common ground and a common goal, to unite African youth in the best way possible." Unite African youth. You see what is happening? These legends are not just playing a game. They are sending a message to millions of young Africans watching. This is the leader worth supporting. This is the vision worth following. This is the Africa worth building. And then they actually play. Here's something most people missed about the August match. The teams were not random. On one side, the African legends, the best players the continent has ever produced. On the other side, Burkina Faso's defense and security forces, soldiers, police officers, the men who fight terrorists every day in the Sahel. This was not just entertainment. This was symbolism. Traoré was saying, "My military men can compete with legends. My soldiers have heart. My security forces are worthy of sharing a pitch with greatness." And guess what happened? The defense forces held the legends to a draw, 1-1. Eto'o scored, but the soldiers equalized. The professionals could not beat the warriors. Traoré weaponized football for national unity. Rigobert Song coaches the legends. Etoo wears the captain's armband. First half. Etoo receives a pass from Hadj Diouf. Think about that for a second. The man who scored against France in the World Cup passes to the 4-time African Player of the Year. In a stadium built by Thomas Sankara, renovated by Ibrahim Traoré, Etoo heads it in. Goal. The stadium goes wild. But here's the twist. The defense forces equalize. Final score, 1-1. A legends could not beat Traore's military. Symbolic? Absolutely. Now let me tell you what the Western media will never report. This event was watched by millions across Africa, shared on every platform, discussed in every country. Young Africans saw their heroes, the players they grew up idolizing, standing next to Traore, praising Traore, playing for Traore. No amount of negative press can undo that image. When CNN calls Traore a military dictator, young Africans remember Eto'o calling him Africa's pride. When France tries to isolate Burkina Faso, young Africans remember legends from Cameroon, Nigeria, Togo, Senegal, Mali, all flying to Ouagadougou. When ECOWAS threatens sanctions, young Africans remember these men choosing to stand with Traore. This is soft power, and Traore just won the championship. France has been trying to paint Traore as an isolated dictator. But how do you maintain that narrative when Etoo calls him Africa's pride? How do you claim he has no support when legends from 6 countries fly to stand with him? You cannot. In one weekend, Traore shifted the perception of millions. A UN speech reaches diplomats. A football match with legends reaches hundreds of millions of young Africans. Which one matters more? Traore is playing the game at a level most African leaders cannot comprehend. But wait, there is more. And then there was the March match. Let me remind you what happened. Traore played wearing number 10, the playmaker's number, Pele's number. Was he good enough professionally? No. But he scored 3 goals against actual legends, a curled free kick, a long-range strike, a tap-in. The footage went viral. Millions of views, comments flooded. Finally a leader who is one of us. This man can fight and play. When was the last time your president did this? Can Macron score against Okocha? Can any Western leader even run 90 meters? Traore is 37, fit, active, young. He showed the world that African leaders do not have to be old men in suits who can barely walk. Now let me connect the dots. In March, Traore played with the legends and scored a hat trick. In August, he hosted the legends, reopened Sankara Stadium, and received continental endorsements from the biggest names in African football. In September, the Stallions returned home. Burkina Faso versus Egypt, World Cup qualifier, first home game in 4 years. The stadium was ready. The nation was united. You think that is coincidence? That is strategy. Traore understands something Western leaders forgot. Sport is not separate from politics. Sport is politics. When you bring legends to your country, you bring their credibility, their fan base, their influence. When Eto'o says Traore is Africa's pride, every Barcelona fan in Africa hears it. Every Cameroonian hears it. Every football fan hears it. That is more powerful than any UN speech. Now let me address the critics. Some people say, these footballers are just being paid. It is propaganda. Really? Samuel Eto'o is worth over $100 million. You think Burkina Faso, one of the poorest countries on earth, is paying him enough to lie? J.J. Okocha has his own business empire. He does not need Traore's money. These men came because they believe in something. They came because they are tired of seeing Africa exploited. They came because they see a young leader actually trying to change things. They came because, for the first time in decades, an African president is saying no to the West and building something anyway. And they wanted to be part of it. Some will say, but Traore is not perfect. No leader is perfect. But did any legend fly to meet the presidents of Chad, Cameroon, or Equatorial Guinea? No. Because those leaders extract wealth. Traore builds. Let me paint the final picture. August 4th, 2025. The sun is setting over Ouagadougou. 26,000 people are singing in the stands of a stadium built by Sankara, renovated by Traoré. On the pitch, legends from 6 different African countries are playing together. In the VIP box, a 37-year-old president watches. The same man who scored a hat trick against some of these players 5 months earlier. Etoo scores. The crowd roars. And somewhere, in living rooms across Africa, young people are watching. They see their heroes supporting their leader. They see a stadium rebuilt without Western money. They see proof that Africa can do it alone. And they start to believe. That belief is more dangerous to the old order than any army. That belief is why France is nervous. That belief is why Traoré keeps surviving assassination attempts. And that belief is why legends fly across the continent to stand next to a captain who refuses to kneel. So here is my question for you. When was the last time your president inspired anyone? When was the last time legends from around the world flew to your country to show support? When was the last time your leader could even kick a ball? Drop it in the comments. And if this video showed you something the mainstream media will never cover, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share. We are building the biggest pro-Africa channel on YouTube. Every subscription counts. Every share matters. Etoo called him Africa's pride. Okocha played against him. Diouf wished him victory. These are not random endorsements. These are the greatest African footballers of all time, choosing to stand with a 37-year-old captain. Pay attention. Now let me give you some context. Samuel Eto'o's career earnings? Over $200 million. He does not need anyone, yet he flew to one of the poorest countries to call its president Africa's pride. Okocha was once the most expensive African player in history. He has nothing to prove, yet he flew to Ouagadougou to play football with a military captain. These men came because they believe in something. They see a young leader actually trying to change things. A president saying no to the West and building anyway. And they wanted to be part of it. Let me leave you with one final image. It is August 4th, 2025, the 42nd anniversary of the revolution that brought Thomas Sankara to power. In a stadium that Sankara built, now renovated by a man who considers himself Sankara's successor, 26,000 Burkina watch the greatest African footballers of all time. Etoo scores, the crowd sings, the legends embrace, and in the VIP section, a 37-year-old captain watches. The man they tried to kill, the man they tried to isolate, the man they called a dictator. He is smiling, because on this day, the legends came to him, not to Paris, not to London, not to Washington, to Ouagadougou, to a man who earns less than most of them spent on dinner, to a leader who chooses his people over personal wealth, to a president who can fight, govern, and score goals. That means everything. Now before you go, I need one more thing from you. If this video opened your eyes, if you learned something the news will never tell you, I need you to do 3 things. 1, like this video. It takes 1 second. 2, subscribe and hit the bell. We are building the biggest truth-telling channel about Africa on YouTube. Be part of it. 3, share this video. Send it to one person who needs to see it. Post it on your story. Let the world know. And drop a comment. After watching this, what do you think of Traoré? I read every single comment. I want to hear from you. Africa is changing, and you are watching it happen. Until next time.